The pre-dawn darkness of the Roman camp stretched across the rolling hills of Germania, broken only by the methodical rhythm of sentries' footsteps and the distant howl of wolves beyond the fortified perimeter. Marcus Flavius Tertius lay motionless on his rough woolen blanket, his calloused hands gripping the wooden frame of his simple cot. At 19, the son of a struggling farmer from the countryside near Rome had traded his plough for a gladius, his fields for the unforgiving discipline of the legions. The transformation had been merciless. 6 months of training had stripped away every trace of the naive farm boy who had enlisted with dreams of glory and citizenship. His body, once lean from agricultural work, now bore the hardened muscle of endless drills. Scars crisscrossed his arms from sword practice with wooden rudis, each mark a testament to the brutal efficiency of Roman military conditioning. The calluses on his hands had shifted from those of a farmer to those of a killer, rough patches perfectly positioned for gripping shield and blade in the deadly dance of combat. Around him, the leather tents of the contubernium housed 7 other men who had become closer than brothers through shared suffering. These were not the noble soldiers of heroic tales, but ordinary men forged into an instrument of imperial will. Gaius, the grizzled veteran who served as their de facto leader, bore facial scars from campaigns in Britannia. His weathered hands never stopped moving, even in sleep, unconsciously reaching for weapons that had become extensions of his body. Lucius, barely older than Marcus, still whispered prayers to household gods in the darkness, seeking comfort in rituals that seemed increasingly inadequate for what lay ahead. The systematic dehumanization of training had served its purpose. Roman military doctrine understood that civilized men hesitated to kill, so it methodically stripped away civilization itself. Hours of stabbing straw targets, while centurions screamed commands, had conditioned reflexes until the thrust became as natural as breathing. Formation drills had dissolved individual identity into the collective organism of the legion, where personal survival depended entirely on maintaining the integrity of the line. Yet beneath the veneer of martial conditioning, human nature persisted. Marcus felt the tremor in his hands, not from cold, but from the primal recognition of approaching violence. Tomorrow these hands would plunge steel into human flesh. The abstract concept of battle, discussed in tactical briefings and training exercises, was crystallizing into stark reality. Germanic warriors waited beyond the morning mist, men with families and fears identical to his own, yet designated by the machinery of empire as obstacles to be eliminated. The Roman war machine had reduced warfare to a science of logistics and psychology. Supply lines stretched back to Rome itself, ensuring that legionaries fought with full bellies and sharp weapons, while their enemies often faced them weakened by siege and deprivation. The very structure of the legion, its hierarchies, rituals, and shared identity, transformed ordinary men into components of a killing apparatus that had conquered the known world through systematic application of organized violence. As dawn approached, Marcus understood that he stood at the threshold between 2 distinct phases of human existence. The boy who had left his father's farm would die in the coming battle, regardless of whether his body survived. In his place would emerge something the Republic had crafted with deliberate precision, a legionary whose humanity had been carefully calibrated to serve the expansion of Roman power across the Mediterranean world. The bronze buccina's haunting call shattered the pre-dawn silence, its notes carrying across the camp with the finality of judgment. Marcus jolted upright, his body responding with the conditioned reflexes of months of training, even as his mind struggled to process the transition from restless sleep to imminent combat. Around him, the systematic awakening of the legion began, a choreographed ritual that transformed sleeping men into a killing machine with mechanical precision. The morning routine unfolded with grim efficiency. Weapons were inspected with obsessive thoroughness, each gladius tested for sharpness, each shield boss checked for structural integrity. The familiar weight of lorica segmentata, 30 pounds of articulated iron plates, settled onto Marcus's shoulders like the burden of empire itself. The armor that had seemed impossibly heavy during training now felt like a second skin, its protective embrace both reassuring and confining. Breakfast consisted of hardtack and sour wine, consumed in near silence, broken only by the clatter of equipment and occasional nervous laughter that died quickly in the morning air. The centurions moved through the ranks with predatory awareness, their vine staffs ready to correct any deviation from perfect military bearing. These were men who had survived decades of warfare through absolute adherence to discipline, and they recognized that the coming hours would test every lesson they had beaten into their charges. The Germanic forest loomed beyond the camp's defensive perimeter, its ancient depths harboring an enemy that fought by different rules than those Rome had codified. Intelligence reports spoke of tribal warriors who knew the terrain intimately, who could appear and vanish like phantoms among the towering oaks and dense undergrowth. These were not the disciplined soldiers of rival civilizations, but something more primal, men defending their ancestral lands with the desperate fury of cornered animals. As the legion formed into its battle columns, Marcus found himself positioned in the hastati, the front rank reserved for younger, less experienced soldiers. The tactical logic was brutal in its honesty. Fresh troops possessed the raw courage of inexperience, while veterans in the rear ranks could step forward to finish what the young began. He gripped his pilum with white knuckles, the 7-foot javelin representing Rome's technological advantage over tribal spears and axes. The march toward battle revealed the psychological architecture of Roman warfare. Drums maintained perfect cadence, their rhythm designed to calm nerves and coordinate movement. The eagle standard of the legion gleamed in the morning sun, a sacred symbol that transformed individual fear into collective purpose. Each step forward was a testament to the systematic conditioning that had replaced personal will with institutional identity. Yet as they approached the Germanic positions, the veneer of mechanical precision began to show cracks. The enemy war cries echoed through the forest, not the organized shouts of disciplined troops, but something more primitive and terrifying. These were the voices of men fighting for their families, their gods, their very existence. The sound reached into the most basic human instincts, awakening recognition that transcended the artificial divisions of empire and tribe. Marcus felt the transformation accelerating within him. The farm boy's capacity for mercy was being systematically shut down by necessity and training. The Germanic warriors emerging from the tree line were no longer fellow human beings, but obstacles to his survival and the mission of Rome. This psychological shift was the true genius of Roman military culture. It did not eliminate human nature, but redirected it through channels that served imperial expansion. The moment of contact arrived with shocking suddenness. The ordered advance dissolved into the chaos of individual combat, where months of training compressed into split-second decisions of life and death. Marcus's pilum found its mark in a bearded warrior's shield, the soft iron point bending on impact to prevent its retrieval, exactly as Roman engineering had intended. His gladius appeared in his hand as if by magic, muscle memory taking control as conscious thought became a luxury he could no longer afford. In that instant, the brutal night's anticipation crystallized into brutal reality. The boy from the Roman countryside completed his transformation into an instrument of imperial will, his humanity not destroyed, but repurposed to serve the expansion of civilization through the methodical application of organized violence. The machine of war had claimed another component, and the Republic continued its relentless advance into the barbarian darkness. What did you think about this journey into the brutal reality of Roman military transformation? Like this video if you want to see more historically accurate stories that reveal the human cost of empire. Subscribe for more deep dives into the moments that shaped our world and